Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Payoff pitch presented by Fantasy Phenom. I'm Kyle. That is the wonderful looking Mike.
Thanks, Kyle. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, man. I am cashing everywhere tonight. Well, not the late slate. I played one line because I was like, I'm winning on the main. I'm going to play a late slate, and that's not cashing. But I'm winning more than I put in. It's a profitable night. Me and Theo, so we did the show last night, obviously. Mike had the night off. And we nailed the stacks. We talked about Detroit. We talked about Miami. And then in the show today, we talked about, Clayton Kershaw, obviously the top guy. Keuchel's doing well. Steven Strasburg actually recovered nicely. He's having a good game. And shout out to Josh Dewey. Man, he was in the chat today on the show. And he's like, yo, look at Nelson. And he was in the chat all day. Look at Nelson, right? We talked about him on the show a little bit. I mean, we kind of looked over him. I didn't put too much stock into him, but Josh was all over him. This dude's strikeout numbers versus lefties were legit. And I mentioned it, because of Josh. I was like, yo, he has great strikeout numbers versus lefties. Dodgers are a primarily lefty lineup, but obviously there's power there, so be careful. And sure enough, he goes out, pretty much matches Clayton Kershaw for half the price.
It was an interesting day of baseball. It is interesting, I think, with Milwaukee now with Chase Anderson and Jimmy Nelson both putting together two straight solid performances. It was a fun game to watch. They had 25 strikeouts between them, Kershaw and Nelson.
The Brewers struck out 25 times as a team in 42 at-bats tonight.
Wow. Well, we know they do strike out a ton. So this was a good spot for Kershaw, and there's no doubt about it. I wasn't 100% surprised that he had double-digit strikeouts today,
No.
I think it was definitely a good spot. That bomb Domingo Santana hit, when he hit that, he was like...
He just knew.
He's like, take that,
Yeah.
And then they brought in Corey Knebel, who's been awesome as their closer, and he gave up the Grandal home run. So definitely was a fun game to watch from both sides of it, I think. The Dodgers ended up winning that game, but it was an interesting day of baseball all around. Again, big slate. A lot of home runs hit. A lot of household names hits home run. We got, Stanton, Judge, Martinez, Smoke again, Goldschmidt, Justin Bour again.
Dude, that Marlins and Detroit stack was amazing tonight. Who else? Surprisingly, if you had a Washington stack, that did well. Giants stack did amazing. Pirates were a slept-on stack. I briefly talked about the possible, three-man stack, but that wasn't.
Yeah, I had Harrison.
You needed Elias Diaz in that stack.
Yeah. I don't think anybody would have put him in. I had Harrison as a one-off today. That worked out nicely for me. He finished with 28 on DraftKings against Harvey there. So, just a lot of home runs hit. I guarantee the winning lines tonight were astronomical just because of all these cheap home runs combined with all these, probably higher-owned home runs. And then especially on DraftKings where you could have had Jimmy Nelson with Kershaw and, single-handedly got you to 80 points. So, gonna have nights like this, and it creates different strategies. Kyle and I were just talking about this, where you can go stars and scrubs on a big slate like this. Even in stacks, you go Harrison and Elias Diaz. Maybe punting more than just one guy and it's just staying out of the mid-range.
Yeah.
It would have worked well tonight.
That's what I did, man. I had Keon Broxton and Eric Thames, and I talked about that on the show. Not necessarily. I mean, it would have been awesome had they gotten to Kershaw. But They still got 12 points between them for $3K in salary. That's not bad, and it allowed me to pay up to Stanton, to Judge, to JD, to... Who else did I have that was... I got Strasburg in there, obviously. Can't remember. I'd have to go look at my lines. After Manny Machado. I got Manny Machado in there who hit a home run. So, it allowed me to pay up to a lot of guys, and I really did avoid the mid-range today.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's not going to work on every slate. Absolutely not. But it's something, to look at.
Just solidifying the fact that, punting in baseball is important so you can get up to guys that, you feel more confident in.
Absolutely.
Especially in the pitching, paying up at pitching and what it allows you to do.
All right.
Tomorrow's an interesting day of baseball as well, it looks like.
Yeah, we got this Yankees-Toronto game that is not on either big slate. It's on either main slate, I should say. It's on an all-day only for both sides, I believe. I know it's on FanDuel. All-day for DraftKings too, correct?
It is, yes. It is the only game at 1 o'clock on a Saturday, which is interesting. It's just the lack of, I guess, East Coast games. Not even. There's just the East Coast games are all starting around 4, which kind of makes sense to me. Like on a Saturday, you go to a baseball game at 4, you get out around 7, and then you can spend some money, go out, have some fun.
Yeah, and then
so I think it makes more sense for baseball to do stuff like that on Saturdays.
Sundays are like the real day game type thing.
Yeah, so this Yankee game's not included. Yankee-Toronto game's not included on the early slate, which is made up of, I believe, 9 games on DraftKings. Main slate is the night, starts at 7.
Yep.
5 games.
Same exact layout on FanDuel. 9-game early, 5.
So I guess we can touch on this Yankee game if you want to. For people that are playing, Jordan Montgomery, the lefty, going against Joe Biagini. I think making now his 5th start. After coming into the rotation here.
So let me ask you real quick, Mike. Joe Biagini's got 112 batted ball events against him now. I think you can put stock into these StatCast numbers at this point.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the fact that he is limiting the fly balls, I mean, that makes sense. That was going to translate from the bullpen, but I think his K percentage is what is the number that's definitely going to be different.
Yeah.
You're going to be you're not going to be a strikeout pitcher when you pitch, 3 times through the order than you are if you're just coming in for an inning, or as much of a strikeout pitcher. So yeah, I mean, he's obviously done a great job. I mean, he's had a few hiccups. Yankees potentially could be another one, but he has done a pretty good job.
I won't be playing the all-day slate, but it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out. Obviously, if you play it, I think you're probably going to want to have some Yankee bats, primarily Gary Sanchez, Aaron Judge. So that'll be interesting. And then Toronto, Josh Donaldson, we were just talking about that, right? So he goes from 75% owned against CC to under 5% owned against Pineda and hits 2 home runs today. So that's DFS.
Yeah, and then the one shot was he hit a curveball a mile that I think was like an inch off the ground. It was just a nasty pitch that he just went down and destroyed. So dude's definitely locked in. Definitely going to see some home runs in this game off a rookie pitcher and a guy that's making his 5th major league start. So
facts. All right, Cleveland and Kansas City, first of the early games. We have Carlos Carrasco and Jason Hamill. People were on an Indian stack today against Vargas. I was not one of those people. I actually told the group I was fading this entire game.
I don't know why you would stack against Vargas on a 14-game slate.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I didn't. But Hamill's a different story, especially with the bats flipping to the other side. We know that these Indian bats have much more power versus righties than they do versus lefties. So, possibly...
A lot of switch hitters.
Yeah, possibly something to look at. And then Carrasco against this Royals team, I don't know if it's a lock this time, Mike. The Royals have seemingly picked up their bats a little bit. Can I say that?
Yeah, they're definitely some hot guys. I mean, you look at Lorenzo Cain, even Alcides Escobar's on a little bit of a hitting streak. We talk about some of these guys, and then you look at Carrasco and his price on DraftKings. It's he's the second highest priced guy. Mm-hmm. He's probably underperformed comparatively to that price, in my opinion. He's coming off a great outing, not a great outing. I mean, it was a quality start Give up 2 solo shots to Oakland, which makes a lot of sense. That's kind of what I would have expected from Carrasco against Oakland. 7 Ks, 2 solo shots. So I think Kansas City is definitely a better team, and 11.7 for Carrasco doesn't really excite me, but neither does most of these pitchers on this early slate. So he's an option, not one I'm too excited to throw today.
Agree.
But he's definitely an option that you can definitely look at. I like stacking against Hamill today. I mean, talk about a tale of two pitchers. Hamill is one of the slowest dudes. He's just frustrating to watch, man. It takes forever between pitches.
Yep.
He's a guy that just tries to finesse you, doesn't really have overpowering stuff. I mean, he's got the trifecta there. The fly ball rate, giving up the bombs. I think you can definitely stack here.
Agree. I don't think Carrasco's chalk tomorrow. I think that goes to McCullers. What do you think?
On the all-day slate, I think they're on different slates.
Are they? Oh, you're right. Wow.
Yeah, McCullers on the late slate.
I miscounted that. Damn it! I thought that was the 9th game. Miscounted that completely. Well, never mind.
Yeah, so it's just going to be interesting to see who the chalk is to pay up. I imagine it'll probably be Cueto against Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But then again, Leicester is an interesting play.
Cueto's
St. Louis.
Cueto is 12-1 versus Philadelphia. Talk about matchup based price.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with Carrasco. I mean, Carrasco had a price rise of almost 2,500. Cueto had a price rise of a little over I think it's 1,400, so 1,300. So they both went up significantly priced to try and share.
So Lester and Leak. Leak has been having a really, really nice season.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes for a good cash play just because, keeps the ball on the ground. He's been limiting hard contact. He's, consistently getting you close to 20 DraftKings points every given slate. And the matchup definitely worries me. I know Chicago is one game under 500, surprisingly, but they do play a little bit better at home. So, again, it's not something I'm 100% on. I don't think I could comfortably be like, this is my guy today, as of right now.
Would you
pitcher on this early slate?
Would you consider him an SP2? I don't play him on FanDuel. I don't think I play him on FanDuel. Cueto's 99, Leak is 84. I see a lot more upside in Cueto than I do in Leak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think he does make for an interesting option at the SP2 position. 8,400. I guess is a fair price. Again, he's been consistent with his fantasy performances. He's been, limiting the hard contact, keeping the ball on the ground. He's pitched into the 6th inning every single start this year, and that's what you want to see as like a floor for your SP2. You want to see long outings.
I agree. So, what about stacking against? Can you stack against either guy, or do you view this as an offensive game fade? On a 9-game slate. I like Jed Jorko's price at third base on DraftKings, 3K against a lefty. I think that's intriguing. And then I don't know. They're all pretty cheap, so it could be an option. I think depending on what happens. I think Lester has a good shot at being some chalk tomorrow against the St. Louis team. Yeah.
So if that's the case, I could see a cheap 2-man to go against it.
I can agree with that. Pham is interesting at 2,600, priced down a little bit tomorrow.
Pham.
And then
yeah.
Kyle Schwarber's only 2,600 versus Mike Leake. We talk about him facing some righties, possibly getting a little heating up a little bit.
Yeah, it's really cheap.
So I think there's some plays from this game. I don't think I stack either team though.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of these prices are cheap in comparison to what you think they would be.
True. Washington and Oakland. Joe Ross versus Daniel Mengden. Did your mic just mute out?
I'm back.
Oh.
I did it on purpose.
Oh, okay. Joe Ross versus Daniel Mengden. Can you target Joe Ross for some strikeouts tomorrow?
As in, like, throwing him?
Yes.
I don't know. A guy I don't really feel that comfortable throwing tomorrow. He is priced up on DraftKings at $8,200. He's only $200 cheaper than Mike Leake. I think I feel a little bit more comfortable with Leake. I mean, Ross has had one good start recently, and that was that Seattle start. You know, his last game was against San Diego, and he gave up 12 hits. So that, I don't know, 12 hits against San Diego. That screams something's wrong. I mean, it is the solid matchup. You know, you got Oakland. That's what you want, right?
Yeah. There are some concerns on Oakland, obviously. There's quite a few guys on this team that have an amazing barrel rate. So Chad Pinder is barreling the ball over 25% of the time. Chris Davis, 22%. Chris Davis is averaging over 55% of his balls hit are over 95 miles an hour. Trevor Plouffe is 45%. Jed Lowry's...
Because they're a big strikeout team, man. They don't make contact. When they do...
That's what I'm saying. It's home run or nothing.
Yeah, that's what we just talked about with Salazar, you know. What you kind of would think. Or not Salazar, Carrasco. You know, struck out 7, gave up 2 runs, both solo shots. That's kind of what this team does, so... Another cheap team that you can try and find some home runs off of. You know, Joe Ross hasn't been lights out at, keeping the ball in the park.
Not at all.
By any means.
I'm telling you, dude.
So,
Chad Pinder is interesting. I like him more on DraftKings and FanDuel tomorrow for his price at 32. 28 is a little more expensive on FanDuel for what I'd want to pay. But he's home run or nothing. So he either strikes out or he hits a home run. But
has he been playing over Rosales?
Yeah, he has. Started again tonight.
Interesting. Yeah. Plays into their style. But I could go either way. I could go Joe Ross. I could try to find some bats against Joe Ross. Again, I don't feel 100% on it. You know, the matchup is there on a slate where I'm not 100% on any of the pitchers. So I am kind of looking at Ross a little bit. And I think he does have bigger upside than Mike Leake does in Chicago.
I agree with that. You also put him in a much more pitcher-friendly park in Oakland.
Right.
Daniel Megden on the other side. Bryce won't be in the lineup, obviously. That'll be Anthony Rendon there.
Yeah, Megden, he was making his second career start. Didn't go so well the first time.
Nope, not against Cleveland.
He was in Cleveland, gave up 3 homers, didn't make it to the 4th inning.
Washington seemingly is hot again. They've been swinging the bat.
Yeah, this is just as bad of a matchup for Mr. Megden. He really drew the short stick on these first 2 starts.
I think Washington's in play, 100%.
Cleveland or Washington, would you rather stack?
I would rather stack Washington than Cleveland. I also think the Oakland bullpen is much worse than the Cleveland bullpen. I'm sorry, the Kansas City bullpen.
That's fair. Yeah, that is a fair point. I was going to say Kansas City, but that's a fair point.
So...
I'm sorry, Cleveland.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I got you. So that's kind of where I'm at. San Fran and Philly. So Johnny Cueto and then Ben Lively. We'll see how live he is tomorrow.
We'll see. I'm sure he's going to have some adrenaline pumping, man. First career start for him.
Yeah. Maybe he either is going to go out there looking like Dinelson Lamet or Daniel Megden.
You know, he's getting his shot. I mean, he's been in AAA long enough. I mean, Philly obviously is ready to give him a shot. They have, obviously Buchholz is on the DL. Now I think Eflin is on the DL as well. And then Velasquez, I think, has an injury. I don't know. But they have some injuries to the rotation.
Why does Buchholz still have a job?
I don't know. So here you go. 37 starts last 2 years, 28 at AAA. Lively's 24-6 with a 2.62. His calling card is his command because his fastball sits in the 88 to 91 range, and he's only walked 7 batters in 56 1/3 innings this season.
Wow.
So that to me says I don't want to target him for home runs, especially with the San Francisco team if this guy's got pinpoint control. But I also don't know how much I feel about his strikeout upside. Looking at his minor league numbers, 20.3% K rate. Generally takes a pretty nice hit when you make that jump to the major leagues. So,
and pair that with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Lively maybe is an SP2 on DraftKings. You could punt him. I do not see a ton of upside in him tomorrow for the lack of strikeouts and the fact that he's facing a team that doesn't strike out a ton.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Just going to be interesting to see how quick of work he can make with this team.
Yeah.
If he can get into the 7th inning with 80 pitches, that might be a solid punt. That's where you're going to make your money.
Yeah.
We saw it today with Ty Block. Just very efficient. Only had 4 Ks, but really had a nice outing.
You're counting on him to pitch well and pitch deep.
Exactly. So again, home run per 9 this season in AAA 0.16.
Yeah. Amazing.
So I don't know that I'm really trying to find some homers off this guy, but it's going to be interesting to see. He's a 4th-round draft pick, so not like a top pick either. 25 years old.
And then Johnny Cueto, I think he should be the highest-owned pitcher on the slate tomorrow. I do think he poses the most upside. And Philadelphia's StatCast numbers as a team are awful, Mike. They only have one player on the team, and that's Aaron Altier, that has a barrel rate above 10%. As a team, their average exit velocity off the bat is under 90. There's only one player that's even 89, and that's Aaron Altier. I'm sorry, there's 2. Franco and Altier. And only one player that has over a 41% average exit velocity, a 95 plus average exit velocity, and that is also Aaron Altier. So there's not a lot to worry about on this team. And then recent stats versus right-handed pitching. Philadelphia is batting .211 over the last 14 days with a 119 ISO.
This team has been bad. I just mentioned it. Ty Block just had a complete game shutout today on the road. This team has not been able to score runs. They, it seems like everybody's in a slump right now at the same time, which is not what you want for a young team. And it happens, man. It happens. It's good. Sometimes it's very contagious in the dugout.
Yeah.
They do have a guy down there in AAA, Reese Hoskins, that, they need to figure out a way to get him up. He's just crushing the ball in AAA. He's like batting almost like 380. He's a first baseman though, and they're kind of
stacked there.
They don't really have, yeah. So they need to start pushing him into the outfield. I think they have been kind of playing him in the outfield more. Nonetheless, but Johnny Cueto, probably has the best money line to win, odds to win as far as Vegas. So that again kind of takes me off Lively even more. Maybe if he was facing a pitcher that wasn't Cueto, that he'd have a better shot to win the game, or he had a better team, it might be a better, more safer punt. But I think Cueto's obviously in play. I think he'll probably be the guy that gets most of the ownership. Just 12-1 on DraftKings is a pretty penny to pay, and it's going to really handicap what you can do with your bats.
Yeah, but I'm on Cueto on FanDuel 9,900, no problem there. You'll find me paying that tomorrow. Chicago and Detroit, Jordan Zimmerman and Miguel Gonzalez, 2 very attackable pitchers. Do you think Chicago gets some ownership tomorrow? Should they? They haven't been the best team, but they've exploited some good matchups before, and I almost make the case at this point. We talk about giving the edge to pitchers. I think you can give that edge to pitchers when you're a team facing a bad pitcher as well. This is a perfect opportunity for a team that hasn't been exactly the best team to kind of get going, right? This could be a batting practice session for them.
Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite stacks today, just doing early lineup building. If you want to get Cueto in without there really being a solid SP2 option, it's the cheap stack against a guy who's been awful. His last start was against the White Sox. Gave up 7 earned runs. 3 of them were bombs. That's a recipe for a nice stack. And again, that was Zimmerman's last start. And it wasn't just like that was his only bad start. He's just been awful all year. Given up more than 3 runs in 8 of his 10 starts this season.
Yep. He's getting barreled over 10% of the time. Average exit velocity off him is almost 89 miles an hour. Leury Garcia is 2,900 on FanDuel. Avisail Garcia is down to 2,700. Matt Davidson, who has really been strikeout or nothing, is facing a guy
Home run or nothing.
No, well, strikeout or home run is what I meant to say. Yeah, who doesn't strike out anybody, right? I mean, that's a cheap first base play. Tim Anderson's 2,800. There's a lot of cheap Chicago bats.
Dude, man, that just reminded me you said strikeout or nothing. I was listening to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. It's a podcast for Yankee fans. If you're a Yankee fan, you got to check it out. Those guys are awesome. But they're talking about how pace of play, you know, how you can just, like, put up 4 fingers and it's a intentional walk. Mm-hmm. Well, they're fed up with Chris Carter as well. They were saying, for Chris Carter, we should just have an intentional strikeout. You know, you just put up 3 fingers, and you just strike him out and get the pace of play up or something. But
I don't know why you guys
maybe
don't
that's
like
something
Chris
that they
Carter,
can
man.
implement. He just looks like he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He got paid.
True that. Yeah, cheap stack here that I like. I think you can look for the hot bats and try to get some guys on before Jose Abreu, I think, right?
Yep.
That's how you got to build your stacks, guys. Find the guys that get on base. Find the guys that hit them home.
What about Detroit tomorrow? Do we go? Alex Avila probably plays, I imagine, versus righty. Definitely in play there. Nick Castellanos is cheap and hitting better now. Something to look at. JD Martinez is still out of this earth. Justin Upton had a good game. Miguel Cabrera is hitting really, really well right now.
Everything's clicking. We just talked about how nothing is clicking for the Phillies. Complete opposites going on here for Detroit. Everybody's kind of hot at the same time, which is not really what you want, but you'll take it. 15 runs scored today, so yeah, I could go right back here. I'm not really that afraid of Miguel Gonzalez, a guy that does give up a lot of fly balls. And you mentioned Castellanos, under 3K on DraftKings, so that's an interesting spot, I think.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
We just talked about a third baseman that we like, though. Oh, yeah, Jed Jorko at 3K if he plays.
I'd rather pay down for Nick Castellanos at 2,600. And Jose Iglesias is 2,200. You might see Dixon Machado lead off again. I think this is a game stack potential.
Oh, sorry, Jed Jorko's not going to play. His wife just gave birth.
Oh, well, there
He's
you go.
on paternity leave.
Good to know. So, Castellanos it is. Plug him in.
Plugging him in. Yeah, under 3K, that's cheap, man. It's probably nice. It's probably the best bat you're going to get at third base under 3K, I imagine.
Rando Delgado, Edison Volquez. Edison Volquez, I would say, maybe gets his second win in a row tomorrow, man. I'm
right?
Crazy. Hasn't had a win in over, since last August. Gets his first win last time out. Arizona's just not the same team on the road. And, I mean, they are facing a righty. Definitely much better than versus righties and lefties. But Miami is way too hot right now. And they're facing a guy that's, was out of the bullpen. He's making spot starts at this point because of all the injuries.
Randall Delgado's his name. He's a righty. He's kind of got shoved into the rotation for Taijuan Walker. This will make his third start.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't pitched bad.
No, he hasn't. And he pitched 92 pitches last time out, and they're saying that he's kind of built up to not face any pitch count restrictions for the start. So perhaps a punt option against Miami. You said they're extremely hot, so I don't really feel...
No, I'm not.
I mean, I'm someone that really values recent performance, so I don't think I want to target this guy.
Please don't punt him.
But he's coming off a nice outing in Pittsburgh, and he's stretched out.
A ton of plays on Miami tomorrow. D. Gordon leading off. Very nice. Giancarlo Stanton, same price, 4,100. Fire him up, no issue. Marcelo Ozuna is down to 3,600. Fire him up. Justin Bourt, 35. JT Realmuto is 28. JT Riddle, I mean, you play him in the 8th spot. I love this Miami lineup versus Delgado tomorrow. I think JT Riddle is a very good punt option at shortstop if he plays, granted. And I don't think Edison Volquez is the worst punt on the slate tomorrow. I can consider him on DraftKings as an SB2 at 6,500, especially if you kind of want to get some Johnny Cueto or one of the higher price guys.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting call. I kind of like him as well. It's that pricing. It's too cheap for him, for sure. But you look at Justin Bour's price, man. It's like now the conversation is like, do I want to play Justin Bour or Paul Goldschmidt? You know, so.
Well, see, on FanDuel, we don't have to worry about that. Justin Bour's 35, Paul Goldschmidt's 44. FanDuel doesn't adjust prices quickly, and so you got to take advantage of these hot streaks. DraftKings is much more resistant to hot streaks. FanDuel is just like,
exactly,
let them ride.
You gotta know when to buy low on DraftKings. So I think Justin Bour is gonna have to be a sell high for me, unfortunately, at 4,900. He is very hot, but I don't think he is in that company as of yet. So
that's fair. He's hot as hell though. If you play Marlins tomorrow, I don't know how you don't have Justin Bour in that stack.
I think he has like 12 home runs in the last 20 games or something.
Yeah, ridiculous. He has the second most home runs in a 20-game stretch, second only to Giancarlo Stanton, who had 13 at one point in a 20-game stretch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and Stanton's hitting on all cylinders too. He loves this 2-spot, Mike.
I like it for him too, man. I really do.
Gets him almost an extra at bat per game, I would argue. I mean, over the course of the season, probably. So.
Yeah, this JT Riddle Stanton 2-man has been kind of nice, you know, getting Riddle on base and Stanton hitting him home.
That wraparound, yep. Tyler Chatwood in San Diego tomorrow. I know Herman Marquez was the guy we were looking at. Well, you weren't on the show last night, but we were talking about him. I thought he would have a good game today. Started out really, really nicely and then just kind of got blown up. We talk about these ground ball pitchers with some K upside. Chatwood almost striking out 20% of his batters versus a Padres team that strikes out a ton. I really think you got to look at him as an SP2 tomorrow versus this Padres team.
To me, it's the Joe Ross conversation. You know, Joe Ross in Oakland, Tyler Chatwood in San Diego, both two pitchers that have had really up and down seasons. You know, I could pinpoint at least 3 starts from either of those guys that were just, negative points. But then you also have some really epic starts from both those guys. So definitely both GPP plays, in my opinion, because of their matchups. But I'm not 100% sold on it.
Yeah, I would rather play Chatwood over Ross for the StatCast numbers. I think when the ball's hit against Chatwood, it is hit less hard. And less hard means less chance of a hit.
No, it's definitely fair. Definitely fair against a team that really needs to hit the ball hard to score runs. So.
Yep.
And then you look at, honestly, man, Wally Chastain has been really good at home. Really bad on the road, but really good at home. I don't know if you buy into that at all, but
15%
his 4 homes. Yeah, his 4 home starts were Milwaukee, LA, Arizona, and San Francisco. So I think LA and Arizona at least are both good teams. I don't know, fluky perhaps, but it's worth noting.
I don't like Colorado on the road either. So Chastain is definitely in the conversation of SP2 just for maybe he gets, maybe he goes 6 innings, 7 innings.
I mean, look at those opponents are batting 132 with a WOBA of 176.
15% hard contact, yep.
Again, it's only 4 starts, so a very small sample, and Colorado can easily make us all look silly. But I don't know, worth noting. I don't know that I want to stack against Chastain. I don't know that's enough to want to play him either.
Yeah. Los Angeles, Milwaukee. We have Rich Hill and Matt Garza on the hill. I think Matt Garza is attackable tomorrow. His numbers versus lefties are not good, and the Dodgers are a ton of lefties. So I'm looking at Bellinger. I know he's expensive. Seager's price is dropping a little bit on FanDuel. He's down to 33. Chase Utley's still at 26. That's interesting. I think a Dodger stack can be had tomorrow. And then Rich Hill versus Milwaukee. I don't think I chance it. Rich Hill doesn't make my player pool.
No, me neither. Dodgers in Milwaukee is interesting. I think attacking Matt Garza is a place that I want to go to today. He has only walked 8 over 7 starts, which is an interesting stat. I mean, that I always thought of him as someone that didn't have control, but that's interesting. I know he did have his last 2 starts have been really bad though, so we talk about recent performance. I think that and then you have the Dodgers coming to town. I think you definitely go with these lefty bats tomorrow.
I agree. Looking at a Dodgers stack potentially. And then Atlanta, Cincy. Scott Feldman, R.A. Dickey.
Dude, R.A. Dickey has been so bad.
He has. And Scott Feldman makes for an interesting play himself versus a Braves team that hasn't exactly been lighting it up.
Especially on the road. Dude, R.A. Dickey's FIP is 6.23. So it's like, oh, he's got an ERA of 5. Maybe he's getting unlucky. No, he's actually getting lucky.
Yeah, I don't think he is. He hasn't been good at all this year. His command has been awful. He's throwing a ton of wild pitches. If I'm Kurt Suzuki, who's his personal catcher, I'm finding a way to get him Jared Weavered and on the DL.
He's 42 years old. I mean, 1 foot into retirement. It's got to come at some point.
I think you're going to see a DL stint here soon.
The DL, yeah. I hear you. And I don't mind. I mean, Feldman's been okay. I mean, he's not
lights out, but he's had a couple, good performances. Had actually a really good performance, a stellar performance, but against this Braves team, there's just not a lot to like about the Braves. I think they were a chalky stack today because of their price and the matchup. You could almost argue that was bad chalk. Before, obviously, hindsight's 20/20. I'm talking beforehand. I think we all kind of came subject to it for the cheap stack. Same with LA today. People were looking at attacking Kyle Gibson. That is one I was not on, and very happily so. I was actually on the reverse with the twin stack, so I'm glad I did that. But
would you rather play Chatwood or Feldman?
I would rather play Chatwood.
I'd go Chatwood. Yeah, in San Diego. Same. Makes total sense. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. It's kind of why I'm off Feldman. They're the same price on DraftKings, essentially. Only $100 between them. So, yeah.
So, yeah. All right, well, let's recap this early slate real quick then. Give me your top 3 pitchers to play and top 3 to attack.
God, man, pitchers to play. I don't really know. I think I'm gonna go Cueto and. I don't feel great about anything else, man. I think my next 3, I would probably, if I'm building multiple lines, I would go all Cueto, and then I would have Ross, Chatwood, and Volquez.
Okay.
Volquez would be the ultimate GPP play, I think.
Against Diamondbacks, I agree. I don't know why, gut feeling right now. I haven't. Actually, I'll take a look at our pitching numbers real quick. I'll see where he lines up. I want to see what his StatCast score is as well. Volquez. Yeah, Volquez actually doesn't project very bad. Very middle of the pack, which is kind of what you'd expect for his price. StatCast numbers, not terrible. Also very middle of the pack. So, interesting to see there. But, yeah, so I'm all Cueto tomorrow morning on FanDuel. I find zero reason to pay anywhere else for him. I don't find reason to pay for Carrasco, but I can see the argument being made just for his K potential. And Kansas City, you could argue that maybe they've just gotten lucky with a couple of good starts. Their bats haven't been great this year. I personally won't play him, so I'll have a lot of Cueto. I think Chatwood's going to be my SP2, my second guy that I'm looking at. And then I agree with you on Volquez, man. My gut feeling just tells me I don't think the Diamondbacks have been a great road team. I think Miami is so hot against a bullpen pitcher, we can call him. I think Volquez could be in line for an easy win. So he just needs to go that 5 innings. Again, I probably won't play him on FanDuel because I'm just of the belief right now that you pay up for the pitching, and there's so many value bats to find. But if I'm on DraftKings, I don't rule out Volquez at all as an SP2.
Yeah.
All right, on to the main, Mike. We got Houston and Texas, Lance McCullers and Andrew Cashner. Andrew Cashner has found something. We were targeting him at the beginning of this year, and his StatCast numbers are one of the best on the entire slate. His StatCast numbers are better than Lance McCullers in some aspects. And we talk about how good he is. Now, I'm not saying Cashner, because of the StatCast numbers, is the same level of pitcher as McCullers, but when the ball's hit against him, it's not getting hit hard. It's not in the air. Very low hard contact rate, low fly ball rate, low WOBA against him, low average against him. 0.7 home runs per 9 against him this year. I mean, a lot of things to look at, but then you factor in this Houston team, and they just put up a number on this Texas team again tonight. Put up a couple runs on Darvish and then destroyed the bullpen. Houston's ridiculous right now. I don't know how you fade them.
Yeah, nothing's going in Cashner's favor in this game. He's opposing Lance McCullers. He doesn't strike anybody out, rarely. He does keep the ball on the ground, and he's got some nice opponents at home. So in his 4 home starts this season, Kansas City, Minnesota, Oakland, and Philadelphia. Obviously, this is a hitter's park, so I think there's some regression to be had with him. But again, it makes for a second look there when you're thinking about stacking against him, based on what he's been doing this year.
I still think you can. Carlos Correa is out of this world right now. Josh Reddick, I think you can still look there. Jose Altuve. I mean, it's an expensive stack. Carlos Beltran's interesting. Yuli at first base is interesting, but
the prices on this team on DraftKings are just absurd, man. George Springer is 5,500.
Altuve's 54. Correa's 55.
Yeah, it's
Alex Bregman is 44.
Yeah, I don't know what you're gonna do at pitcher if you decide to stack this team. I think you try and pick one. I think Correa's got to be your guy if you're gonna pick one of the 3 guys that are real high up there.
Yeah, but what this Houston team is doing right now is unreal. They just don't stop scoring. So, and then McCullers is obviously, I think, probably my favorite pitcher on this main slate.
Yes, I think he will be the guy to have. I mean, he's not the highest price either on DraftKings. Irvin Santana takes that title.
Yeah, and
So 10-8.
Irvin Santana going back to LA, facing a team that has no Mike Trout, so it's a quadruple A team.
Exactly.
I can get behind it.
Yeah, it makes for an interesting decision, man. I think that'll be the decision of this slate. So I think you're gonna have to really hone in and try and make a decision. Texas is probably the better opponent than LA. Texas is probably the worst ballpark for a pitcher to go into. McCullers is probably the strikeout upside. Santana, though, has been really limiting barrel rates. StatCast numbers have been out of this world for Santana, almost to the point where it's like, this can't last.
And he's been getting good strikeout numbers, Mike. He scores.
But okay, it's not Lance McCullers status.
No, of course not. But I mean, I don't think we would have classified Santana as a strikeout pitcher, and his strikeout rate is very respectable. It's not.
Yeah, we just talk about this Houston team being out of this world. Well, he limited him to 1 earned run on 6 Ks.
Yep.
His last start. So
Santana, and people keep waiting for him to jump down. Right? They're like, oh, regression's coming. I don't see it. I really don't. I think the numbers are backing everything he's doing up. So
yeah, I'm just saying. I think if they both go out and have their best game, McCullers is going to outscore Santana.
Absolutely. As you would expect with the strikeouts.
Right, but who has the better chance of having their best game tomorrow? That is the call to make.
Yeah, so going to be interesting. Pittsburgh and New York. You got Tyler Glasnow, who has not been great this year. Very up and down. Michael Conforto finally hit a home run today. Mets offense got going a little bit. Lucas Duda stays out of this world. And check this out, Mike.
There were two dongs today for Duda, right?
Yeah. Check this out, Mike. Lucas Duda dropped in price on FanDuel.
What are they doing, man?
He's down.
What's going on?
He's down.
What is their algorithm?
To 2,800. I don't get it, and I'm perfectly okay with it.
Yeah, I mean Glasnow, he was a big time AAA pitcher. Hasn't done anything in the majors really to be excited about. He's been average. He's shown himself as a back of the rotation guy, and maybe he makes a career out of that. But the Mets, with all their lefties, I think will get to Glasnow. And however, Gazelman's not been the greatest either. I mean,
no, not at all. Not at all.
He's not been good at all. Oh man.
Not good at all.
Yeah, I know.
Pittsburgh stack in play tomorrow as well. I'm liking Polanco, Josh Bell, David Freese. I mean, your typical guys. Cervelli sat today. Maybe he's back tomorrow. Andrew McCutcheon's price is jumping up a little bit. 3,300 on FanDuel is still fair enough, though. I can do it. So yeah, I
was going to say this Pittsburgh team is one that relative to FanDuel is much cheaper on DraftKings.
Yep.
So I like it. Man, I just pulled up Gazelman on DraftKings, dude. This dude looks just like my neighbor, and it's scary because he's just very scary. He's just a weird-looking guy, man. My dog always barks at my neighbor. And if you looked at this guy's picture, if you were a dog, you'd probably bark at him too. He's just.
Have you seen the Mets pictures? Their entire staff is kind of. I mean, they dress up in super
ridiculous.
They dress up in superhero underwear and dance around the clubhouse.
Yeah, and they use entirely too much moisturizer for that many blisters.
The one thing I do give them credit for is they probably use Head and Shoulders. Their hair is good, but I think they
don't need to be getting the Mets endorsements, man.
I think they spend too much time shining their hair and not enough time practicing pitching.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. They don't really have much. They need this pitching to work out too. They've sold out on this pitching staff, so they need it to work out. They've put a lot into it. They do have a guy that's coming for his Drupal Cabrera spot in the minors who's just been lighting it up. I forget his name. So maybe see the Mets pick it up. I do think this Josh Harris, this top four for Pittsburgh is somewhere that I'm gonna look tomorrow for sure.
Yeah,
it's very cheap.
I love a New York stack tomorrow. Michael Conforto is back down to 3,800. Mike, he dropped in price as well on FanDuel. Jay Bruce is at 36. Curtis Granderson at 27 and Travis D'Arnaud at 24. I like that kind of almost wraparound stack of Granderson, D'Arnaud, if Granderson's down at 7. And then Conforto leading off and Bruce in the 3-hole. I like that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the catcher situation because, Rivera was hitting so well.
So we'll see.
I do know they have a lot with Travis, so
he hasn't been
a lot of faith. So
bad either, so it'll be interesting.
No, that's what I'm saying. We'll see what happens. Interesting game. A lot of cheap bats, a lot of bad pitchers, a lot of things to go, a lot of places to go.
David Price didn't pitch awful in his first start back. Actually pitched pretty well. 125 average against him. So something to look at there.
I mean, it was against the White Sox, and they did get 3 earned on him, and he only struck out 4. So I don't think, in David Price land, I don't think that was a solid performance.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, he didn't pitch terrible, but he didn't pitch good, and I think he's very attackable versus Baltimore offense tomorrow. I'm looking right back at Manny Machado, who's 3,400. Chris Davis, Mark Trumbo. Joey Rickard will probably lead off, not Seth Smith.
3,800 for Manny Machado is just entirely too cheap. I imagine his ownership to be pretty high tomorrow.
What about Joey Rickard leading off at 31?
Yeah, no, I think whoever, one of the two guys before him, I think I want, depending on price and matchup, to fit a two-man stack.
With you. So
I'm not interested in pitching Price tomorrow against this lineup. Dylan Bundy has been extremely wild. Just I don't feel confident in him versus this Boston lineup. Yes. Although he has been surprising, but he's
their best pitcher. But I'm not playing him against Boston.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some home runs to be had. I mean, he's given up a home run in each of his last 6 starts, and he walks a ton of guys. So it just tells me, this 2.89 ERA is not going to last, especially in this ballpark.
Same. Urban Santana, Matt Shoemaker.
There he is.
I like some Santana tomorrow, man. I really do. And I'm going to go right back to the Twins versus Shoemaker. I really hope Roto Grinders talks this guy up again for his K upside.
Please.
Because I think
Please do that again.
The Twins have been swinging the bat well. They just put up an 11th spot on the Angels tonight. Versus J.C. Ramirez, who you could argue is a better pitcher than Shoemaker. Kepler's hot. Eddie Rosario's still hot. Sano's hot. Joe Mauer had a home run tonight. His price is climbing. Kenny's Vargas, if he plays, obviously power there. There's a twin stack to be had. Brian Buxton is 2,300, 27 on DraftKings. That's an interesting play for a cheap punt.
Yeah, I think Shoemaker's overpriced at 9,600 on DraftKings. He's the third highest pitcher on the slate. Just the fly ball rate, the home run rate. I think he has put together some really nice games this season from a DraftKings perspective, but I just don't think it's going to last. I really don't. Did kind of get shelled a bit in Miami his last start, so maybe that pushes ownership off of him. And with him only being like $1,000 from McCullers, I don't see why. Or in between Price and McCullers, I think a lot of people look at Price at 8,500 and be like, oh, that's too cheap for him, which potentially could be. You look at his career, but I just don't think people are going to be on Shoemaker. Unfortunately, tomorrow I do like going up against him. I agree. I like a Minnesota spot. And I don't want to touch Urban Santana with this Los Angeles team. So Urban Santana's definitely play. It's just a price situation.
Yo, real quick. In Rivers right now, Frankie Newton just took down a $1,000-person GPP tonight.
Wow.
Stacked Detroit,
Kershaw, a couple $100,
and Fulmer, and Motter's Grand Slam being the difference. So super pumped.
Nice.
There. So congrats, Frankie. I know he just joined less than a week ago. So return is already paying off. That's awesome, man.
And we always talk about that shortstop punt.
Yeah.
Being shortstop, second base, catcher. I think is the 3 positions that I find, or even one of your outfielders.
Same. It's always.
And Taylor Motter hasn't been playing well, so his price has been steadily dropping. Well, he gets the right pitcher tonight, and so.
Bam.
Props, man. Good job.
All right, and lastly we got Tampa and Seattle. Alex Cobb and Sam Gaviglio. Where are you looking, Mike? I think Gaviglio can be attacked again with these raised lefties, and Tim Beckham, of course, and Steven Souza. So, yeah.
I mean, does today's performance worry you at all against Bergman? I mean, they look pretty bad.
I mean, it doesn't exactly excite me, but we know what Tampa does, right? They'll go games where they don't score any runs, and then they'll go games where they score 6 all on home runs, and that works for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Gaviglio's been bad. The Seattle bullpen's been bad. Tampa Bay hits a lot of home runs, so I think that's kind of where I go, trying to find the best probability for a home run. It's not cheap anymore, unfortunately. You look at Logan Morrison, he's, if not the highest price, one of the highest price. He is the highest price first baseman on DraftKings on the slate. Again, it's not cheap anymore. Someone I look at that's still within reason price, Colby Rasmus. He's a home run hitter that still looks like he's probably too cheap at 3,500 on DraftKings. relative to FanDuel at least.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this. I don't know if I want a complete stack here, but I can see trying to find 1 or 2 homers off Gaviglio in this Seattle bullpen. And then Alex Cobb makes for an interesting play.
I'm not doing
Seattle
it.
kind of woke up today, but, again, we need 2 pitchers, so we can't pay for Santana and McCullers. What other pitcher you really got here? So we talk. I don't know, man. I really don't know. So I think Cobb's in play. I think by default, I think Bundy and I don't know. Bundy, I guess, is in play by default. Price has to be in play by default.
See, on FanDuel, it's so easy. I choose between.
You just pay up for one of the 2.
I pay McCullers or Santana, and I'm happy, and I go about my night.
Yeah. So on DraftKings, the Alex Cobb, I think, is a safer play. He's put together 3. His quality start percentage is pretty good. If you look at these game logs, he pitches into the 6th a lot. He's got a pretty good quality start percentage. The Seattle team hasn't been great. It's somewhat of a pitcher's park, so it's kind of where I'm looking.
Okay, I like it. All right, so for this 5-game main, give me your 2 pitchers, and I guess you can throw in a GPP option, and then obviously the ones you're attacking.
Well, I'm gonna pick McCullers over Santana. Okay. I think Santana is going to get all the ownership tomorrow, and that's why I'm going McCullers. In cash makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't generally play cash, so I'm going to go McCullers. And then for my SP2, man, I don't know. I haven't decided really. Right now, I'll say Cobb.
Okay.
But that's just because there's really nothing else, man.
I agree with you. So I, too, am McCullers 1, Santana 2, but to me right now they're 1A and 1B. I'm not 100% sure which one I'll end up going with. SP2...
yeah, if you had to pay down, what are you thinking?
If I have to pay down, you know what, I think I'm going to go... I'll say Bundy, if I have to. But I won't pay down tomorrow. I'll tell you that right now. But if for those of you that insist on it, if you want my opinion, it's going to be Bundy. But I'm not going to do it. I'll just tell you that now.
It's really tough. It is.
And we forgot to do this on the main as well. But give me your top 3 pitches to attack on the main, and then on the late.
Oh yeah. I want to attack Zimmerman. I'm going to go Zimmerman, Garza, and Hamill on the main, and then on the late slate, I'm gonna attack. Can I say Gazelman and Glasnow, both pitchers in that game?
Yeah, game stack worthy. Why not?
Let's do it.
For me, I'm also on Zimmerman. I'm on attacking Miguel Gonzalez as well, and you know what? I think I'm gonna attack Rando Delgado with Miami. Miami's just too hot right now. I love this stack.
It's fair. Yeah, a lot of bad pitchers across the board today. So,
and then
it's hard to pinpoint a couple stacks.
On the late, you know what? I don't know if I attack Cashner. Actually, no, I'll skip that. I kind of like a couple guys on Houston. I don't know if I want to attack Cashner right now. I do want to attack Glasnow. I also want to attack Gazelman, and I'm going to attack Matt Shoemaker with a Minnesota stack.
Yeah, I like that too.
So that is where I am at. That is where Mike is at. As always, we will be back tomorrow. Well, Mike won't. I will be. Maybe Theo will be on the show as well. Breaking down our final opinions, obviously, once lineups start to come out. So we'll give our detailed stacks, what that we're going to play, and our for sure pitchers, final pitcher selections, obviously. Go through a little bit of lineup building, talk about that, what we're going to do, where the ownership looks like it'll be. And that is, of course, exclusive to the River members. Also, again, shout out to Goodyear Footwear for sponsoring the Phenom. If you guys are interested in purchasing some shoes, Father's Day is coming up, obviously, or would you like a pair for yourself? 15% off at checkout by using the code FANTASYPHENOM, capital F, capital P. Look out for Jay and Ant's NASCAR video this weekend. I believe they'll do it tomorrow. And then we're putting together some WNBA videos for you guys. I know we released one. Going to try and up that a little bit. And then look forward to hopefully some golf in the near future. So we're working on a couple new things for you guys, as well as we're going to be launching something called the Phenom Academy. And what that is going to be is a series of videos. If you've never played DFS before, or if you kind of want to get back to square one, because I found, and I think Mike, you'll agree with this, that it was worth getting back to the basics when you go through a rough spot in DFS, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think just having it there, I mean, say it's something that we come to and we post these academy, videos, and they're just, quick tutorials on different aspects of DFS. You go in and, maybe come September you want to go back and watch it. You forget, you kind of get back to the basics, like you said. I think it's going to be really important. For those of you that are new to playing DFS, those of you that have friends that, you've been talking DFS up to them, you want them to get involved, this would be a great place to send them to. Be like, yo, I know I've been talking this up. You tried it one time, you lost your money, you don't want to come back. Well, try watching this first, playing in some free rolls, and doing it the right way. Exactly. So that's what we're all about. We want you guys to do it the right way, because I found, talking to some of my friends, that they do it the wrong way. They go in and they put their money in. They don't know where they're supposed to play. They don't know how to do it, and they lose, and they don't want to ever come back. And we enjoy DFS, and we want to grow this community and this industry the best we can. So look forward to that. Like Kyle said, we got a lot of cool stuff coming. The NASCAR video, if you haven't jumped on that train, you're totally missing out. Give it a watch for 5 minutes. I guarantee you're hooked. Golf insight, perhaps some audio video coming real soon. Theo and I are going to release some pro picks for this awesome MMA card tomorrow. If you guys want to try your hand in that. And, of course, we got free roll contests for all of those. Just if you want to play for fun, watch some sports. It's what it's all about.
Yeah. So with the Phenom Academy, just to kind of finish my point, I found myself struggling a little bit, right? I was not only in the process of testing things that I wanted to do, but also the reason, I was like, all right, I'm not hitting on all my picks. What am I going wrong? I'm wasting money at this point, right? So I backed up. I was like, all right, I'm going to go back to the basics. Look at how I'm managing my bankroll. Because the goal in DFS is once you deposit, you don't ever want to have to deposit again. And if you manage your bankroll properly and you are a moderately successful player, the goal, for me at least, is just to be profitable. Obviously, we all want to win that big GPP, but if we're being realistic, right, the goal is at the end of the season to be profitable. And so managing bankroll, contest selection, also having a little bit of reality behind it as well, is you're not going to win every night, and expecting that, if you expect that, you're in the wrong industry. It's not realistic. Numbers can all line up and the guys just don't work out. So
yeah, dude, I think you hit the nail on the head too. It's just maintaining your bankroll, winning more than you lose at small stakes, and playing a percentage of your bankroll in tournaments. I guarantee, if you do that every night, your tournament win is going to come, man. There's so much luck involved with taking down a GPP.
Yep. That
you just have to, trust the process, and play, and then one of those days it's just going to come through for you. But if you're just playing tournaments and you're throwing all your money in it every night, I mean you're asking for defeat.
And there's ways to counter that. There's ways to hedge it, and you can still be profitable playing tournaments, even if you lose in that tournament by hedging with cash. So we're going to cover all that, guys. We're writing it out. Again, if you're a successful DFS player, it doesn't necessarily apply to you. It's more than helpful to go back and kind of remind yourself if you're struggling. I know a couple people in the River group have gone back and kind of, decided, all right, I'm gonna play free for a week. Sydney does it. Sydney's an extremely successful DFS player, and he's in River all the time. And he's like, what? I just got off my process, went back to playing the free roll, and then now he's cashing again. Took down some contests the other night. So look forward to all this stuff coming out. We're coming out with the content. Obviously, the website is still in production. And yeah, so a lot of good things coming, guys. Appreciate the support. I appreciate you guys sticking with us with the transition to River. And of course, any other questions, let us know. We're happy to answer them. And yeah, I think that's all I got.
That's it, man. Yep. Just thanks for watching. If you liked it, hit the like button. Goes a long way.
Yeah.
So,
all right, guys. We'll have a wonderful and profitable Saturday. We'll be back. Well, I'll be back in the afternoon, and we'll chop it up a little more.
sounds good, man.